Most people visit the royal palace expecting to see discipline, perfection, and silence. The guards stand like statues, unmoving and unreadable. But on one bright afternoon, something unexpected happened, something so gentle and so human that it stopped an entire crowd in their tracks. It all began with a little boy who simply wanted to be seen. He stretched his small hand over a silver barrier, waving up at a guard who towered above him in a bright red uniform. Everyone around him smiled, whispered, and waited, but no one could predict the moment that followed, because when the guard finally moved, just slightly, the air changed. The crowd went silent. And what happened next melted every single heart in that courtyard. Before we begin, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to Storysphere for more emotional and inspiring videos. Your support helps us bring more meaningful stories straight to your screen. Now, let's begin. Jacob was only 6 years old, a sweet boy with bright brown eyes and a gentle nature. He lived with a speech delay that made everyday situations feel overwhelming. Loud noises scared him. Crowds made him shrink into himself. And when he tried to speak, the words didn't always come the way he wanted them to, but today, he was trying, really trying. His mom brought him to the palace because he loved uniforms. To him, uniforms meant strength, protection, and safety. He believed people who wore them were heroes. Jacob leaned forward, gripping the barrier. His little fingers curled around the metal as he looked up at the tall guard wearing the iconic black bearskin hat and vivid red coat. The guard stood motionless, just as he was trained to. His eyes didn't blink. His head didn't turn. His posture didn't waver. Jacob lifted his hand and waved shyly and nothing happened. His mother, standing close beside him, saw the disappointment forming in Jacob's eyes. Crowds around them murmured softly, some amused, others touched by the sight of the tiny boy trying so hard to connect with someone who wasn't allowed to respond. Jacob lowered his hand. His shoulders drooped. He stepped back, a little defeated, but then unexpectedly, the guard moved. It was the smallest gesture, barely noticeable. A slow, precise step forward. But in a place where guards never break character, it felt like the world had shifted. The crowd gasped. Phones lifted. Silence spread. The guard, maintaining strict composure, gently tilted his head downward, just enough to meet Jacob's eyes. Jacob froze. His tiny chest lifted with a quick breath. His eyes widened with wonder. Encouraged, Jacob raised his hand again. This time, it didn't shake. His little fingers stretched outward, hopeful and brave. The guard didn't smile, he wasn't allowed to. But he shifted his rifle slightly to the side, a subtle signal of acknowledgement. A small, human moment, but huge for the little boy standing before him. Jacob's mother pressed a hand to her heart. She wasn't expecting this. None of the tourists were. A teenage girl lowered her phone, whispering wow. A couple standing behind them squeezed each other's hands. A toddler sitting in a stroller leaned forward, eyes wide. It was as if the entire courtyard paused for this one child. Jacob stepped closer to the barrier, standing straighter and taller than he had all day. His mother saw something changing in him, confidence blooming, fear melting. Mom, he whispered softly, he saw me. Tears filled her eyes. For a child who struggled to be understood, being acknowledged, even wordlessly, meant everything. As the guard stepped back into perfect formation, he maintained his stoic expression. But the crowd sensed it, the compassion behind his strict duty. The humanity inside his role. The small act of kindness he chose to give at the perfect moment. Jacob and his mother began to walk away, hand in hand. But Jacob kept looking back, smiling wider each time he turned. He waved one last time. He didn't care whether the guard moved again. He already received something priceless: courage, connection, and the feeling of being noticed. Sometimes, kindness is silent, sometimes, it's a single gesture that lasts just a second, and yet, that second can stay in someone's heart forever. On that afternoon, outside the palace, a royal guard didn't break the rules, he simply embraced compassion, and that small gesture inspired an entire crowd to remember one powerful truth: kindness doesn't need words. It only needs a moment.